Because I have the honor and privilege to introduce the 28th head coach of Husker basketball, Fred Hoiberg.
Is it my turn?
It is.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Bill. I want to thank Chancellor Green and President Bounds for this wonderful opportunity. It's a very emotional day for me, for my family, a lot of who are sitting over here this afternoon, and we have great ties to this state. We have great ties to this university, and it starts with my grandparents. And I know a lot has been written about my grandpa Bush, who coached here back in the 50s and 60s, but my other grandfather, Otto Hoiberg, was a history professor here for almost 30 years. And to be honest with you, he's the smartest person that I have ever known. And I had a great chance. He moved back to Iowa in his later years and was able to spend a lot of time with him. And those were very special moments to be able to talk to my grandfather because of how worldly and how smart that he was. My parents, who are here today, Eric and Karen, both went to Nebraska. They are alums, 1966. Dad went on to get his master's in 69 and his PhD in 72, which is the year I was born here at Lincoln General. And I don't remember a lot about Lincoln as a kid. I moved to Ames when I was 2, when my dad got a job offer at Iowa State. He also got a job offer at Kansas. I'll always say I'm forever grateful to my dad for making the right decision. But also want to introduce a few other people. My brother Steve is here. Steve lives in Omaha now and actually taught at the University of Nebraska, Omaha for many years until his current position with Siemens Corporation. His wife Carrie is here, a Nebraska native. Daughter Isabel, my niece, who's in 7th grade, and Emma, who was hired by Coach Miles actually this last year in the basketball department. So you better behave yourself, kid. My cousin Joe is here. He just moved to Lincoln last year. His mother, Bonnie, is also a Nebraska alum. And then my aunt and uncle are here. My uncle Dennis, who is a Clearwater, Nebraska legend. He's a Nebraska High School Hall of Famer. And my aunt Jane, who also went to Nebraska. And you'll notice Jane at the game. She'll have those basketball half masks on. She'll be wearing that and be the one with the Go Big Fred sign. So thanks for coming. Then also want to introduce my wife, Carol, who's here today. Carol and I can't believe we've been together now for 30 years. And I won't tell the story, Carol, that you asked me to prom when I was a sophomore, but that's when we met back at Ames High School. And she's the rock of our family. And when you're a coach, you need a great support system, and I have that. And a lot of that has to do with my parents, my brothers, and also my wife. Our 4 kids could not make it today. Our daughter Paige is a senior at Kansas. She graduates from Kansas, which just kind of freaks me out that it's gone as fast as it has. She will graduate in May. Our son Jack, who we just spent time with this last weekend in Washington, D.C., he's a player on the Michigan State team, and they're getting ready for the Final Four, which has been a great thrill for our family to see Jack and his teammates cut down the nets in D.C. just this last week. And then our twins, Sam and Charlie, who we were going to bring, but they missed class on Monday, and they're going to miss class again on Friday, and we thought we should probably keep them in school as much as we can. But when you make a move like this, you have to have full support from everybody, and we have that, and it's very special. And the vision that Bill laid out to me when we started talking about this opportunity, I see real potential here to have long-term success, and a lot of that has to do with the facilities that are here. And we played an exhibition game a couple years ago when I was coaching for the Bulls, and I was just absolutely amazed. It was actually a really good game against the Mavericks. Doug McDermott hit the game winner on a sideline out of bounds play we call Larry Bird. That's neither here nor there, but anyway, it was a great moment to see those facilities. We played a closed-door scrimmage actually against Doc Sadler back in 2011 when the practice facility was just being built, and I'm telling you, these facilities are as nice as any in the country, and that's a very attractive thing when you're trying to attract recruits to a market like this, and also the fan support. The fan support is second to none. What I've seen going back, I was a diehard Husker football fan as a kid growing up, and it's just amazing. Every seat in this stadium has been filled since 1962. And then the basketball games, to see the atmosphere. I watched a lot of Big Ten basketball this last year because of Jack and because of Michigan State. And it's just such an unbelievable atmosphere. And I think Tim Miles did a great job and deserves a lot of credit for bringing excitement to this program. And now it's our job to build on that and hopefully become a consistent winner. I talked earlier about my grandfather, Jerry Bush. It's such a thrill for me to be able to walk different buildings, but on the same sidelines that my grandfather did. And, it's pretty amazing. He probably has the best win in the history of Nebraska basketball. They had lost earlier in the season against a Kansas team led by Wilt Chamberlain, 103-43 is what they got beat. And I asked him before the game, when did you know you were going to lose? He said when we got out of the bus and Wilt reached across the roof and closed the door that way, we knew we were going to get beat. So, but then to go back and win that game, and Jimmy Kabaki, who I think was hurt that entire game, they had him go in with about 4 or 5 minutes left, and he went in and hit the game winner. But it was, not very often you shut school down with a basketball win, but they actually did that. That next day they shut class down. And then that following week to go on and beat Kansas State, team led by Bob Boozer, who was #1 team in the nation. So that was, I know, a really fun week for my grandfather and for my family. I didn't get to know him, like I said, very well. He passed away when I was 3 years old. But to hear the stories, Albert Maxey, Albert is here today. He played for my grandfather. Albert has always been great to our family. But I always got letters when I got into coaching, and even when I was playing a little bit in the NBA, from my grandfather's former players, and just to know the impact that he had on their lives. Same thing with professors. I get a lot of things from my dad and my other grandfather, Otto. But to hear from my grandpa's players is really cool. And to know the type of person that my grandfather was and the impact that he had in the community here because of the type of personality that he was is always a lot of fun for me to hear. So I'm excited about this, guys. I met with the team just a couple minutes before we came down here, and I talked to them about the opportunity that we have moving forward. And, this is such a special time of year. The greatest sporting event in the world is going on right now with the NCAA tournament. And I challenge them, the amount of work it takes. I was fortunate enough. I played 10 years in the NBA, and I didn't play because I was the most athletic. I didn't play because I was the most gifted. The reason I played is because I was the hardest worker, and nobody was going to outwork me, and that's how I got to that level. And that's what I'm going to demand and expect out of our players, is to go out every day and give everything we can and put an exciting product on the floor that will make our fans proud. And that's what we're going to strive to do starting the week after the Final Four. We're going to get going with our workouts. We're fortunate enough to have a foreign trip this year to get a head start in the season over in Italy. But there's a lot of work to do. I hit the road tomorrow. We're going to get in the plane and we're going to go out and we're going to see some kids and get this thing moving right away. And we lose a lot. There's a lot of really good players that are graduating from this institution, and we've got a lot to replace. And again, our players understand that. And again, we know we have to do everything possible to put ourselves in a position where we're going to be successful and do it consistently.